I heard 999,000 people tell me, oh, it's a terrible business, you can't get into it. Bad time to get into this business.
There's more to radio than we've ever had to think about before.
It's impacting them now, but not as much as it will.
Radio's trying to stop itself so it can get on board something they fear.
It was depressing because they were making decisions that didn't make sense.
The rules have changed.
I do radio. That's my job.
Radio in Arizona really started in 1921 in a bowling alley owned by a man named Earl Nielsen. He had, as a hobby, a radio station called 6BBH. It was almost like a town hall. It wasn't really a business, at least in the 20s. He eventually realized that in addition to the bowling alley, he might ought to have a real radio station. And then in 1929, Jack Williams, who would later become governor, convinced him to change the call letters to the distinctive three-letter call, KOY. Throughout the 20s, 30s, and even 40s, well into the 50s, there were really just two major radio station brands. There was 550 KOY and 620 KTAR.
The first name in news, KTAR. The first name in news, KTAR. With Arizona's first name in news, KTAR.
So for years, it was just those two stations. It really was a duopoly.
Danny and the juniors singing at the high of the good old days. Why they have to stop?
They were both full-service radio stations. They did a little bit of country music, and they did a little bit of chit-chat and swap shops. Our catch line was, KOY, the only radio station you'll ever need.
This is Bob Scott, KOY Election News at 6:30. 1/2 hour from now, the polls close.
Then it sort of became the format for both KOY and KTAR to have hourly newscasts.
We're proud of KOY News. Maybe that's why it's more than just a break in the music.
Radio had to change because of television. And over time, the AM stations really had to abandon their full-service formats.
55 KOY Music.
Raindrops are falling on my head.
Looking out my back door.
The invention of Top 40 really jump-started radio after television came along.
Children, what's that sound?
The notion of playing 40 of the most popular songs over and over. Radio stations had to come up with different ways to attract audience.
55 AM KOY. I really like the music they play more.
That really caused radio to need to format more specifically for more narrow demographics.
It's just a matter of personal taste.
Bill Haywood in the morning.
In 1973, we lost our morning man at KOY, and another major personality who had been in the market, Bill Haywood, had left to go to Las Vegas.
This is Bill Haywood of KOY Radio.
I went up to Las Vegas, talked to him, and said, why don't you come home to Phoenix? So he joined us at KOY in 1973 and had a 13-year run with the station and became Billboard Magazine's Grand International Personality of the Year. That was huge.
Haywood and Company, mornings on KOY Radio, a knockout.
One of the keys to success is finding and keeping the best talent available.
All right, so this is show business. This is not show picnic. You have to be in the business 25 years before you can do this while you're doing your show. One thing we like, on the internet, there's no HR department. Yet.
This is backstage in Arizona. With me in the interview segment is Tim Hattrick from KKFR Fire FM.
That's right. Congratulations on getting those call letters right.
Thank you.
A lot of people call us K-Fire. A lot of people call us 92 Fire FM. A lot of people don't even know we're on the radio yet, so. I'm a radio personality, and I've been part of the Tim and Willie Show for approximately 25 years. I started the career here in the Valley at KDKB. Hey, it's kind of a neat story. I started there as an intern.
I'm Bill Andrus. Don Giese. It's the morning show. Somebody brought in some bagels. Want to thank you for that. You got a knife so we can cut these things?
No, but I have a chainsaw.
Even better.
And they said, here, Tim, you be John Giese's new partner, and that was a great experience. They let me do the morning show with him for 15 months. I later came to be on a radio show in Phoenix, and I was working shortly after I worked with Glenn Beck on Y95.
The new Y95 Morning Zookeepers, Glenn Beck and Tim Hattrick.
We told our bosses right up front, we don't need gimmicks to sell the new Y95.
We've got a better mix of music. Great DJs who don't yak too much.
Plenty of easy contests for you to win lots of free money.
And more continuous music.
Plus the new morning zoo with us, Glenn and Tim.
Y95 airborne traffic
and
report.
Special zoo guests.
Yeah, you never know who will drop in.
So hey, with all that to offer on the new Y95, who needs gimmicks?
The new Y95 means music and very few gimmicks.
Both Willie and I were working independent of each other in radio. He worked on a show called Jonathan Brandmeier, and he was part of the cast of characters that Johnny B had on his show. It was very popular in Phoenix in the early 80s.
Balloon, moon, 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 balloon, moon, moon. I listen to this DJ and his name is John. Balloon, moon, 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 balloon, moon, moon.
When I found out he was Willie D. Loon, he found out I was Tim Hattrick, and we became buddies, golfing buddies, and then eventually radio partners.
1, 2, 3.
We decided that we would go anywhere that a radio station would hire us, and it turns out that was in Tucson, Arizona at KRQ, and we began a long run as radio partners.
You don't have to move that mountain, just help me, Lord.
We made a living saying and doing things that we used to get in trouble for in school.
Hey, that's pretty cool. What do you call it? He says, well, I call it a foddle.
Foddle?
Folding bottle, yeah. So.
Oh, folding bottle, okay.
What else you got? He said, well, I got this folding carton. I call it a fartin'.
Ew.
Well, the clerk said, hey, it's kind of gross. It's crude. It's disgusting. You're not going to be able to call your invention that.
Right.
The guy said, well, you're definitely not going to like my folding bucket.
We're good at entertaining ourselves. We're both kind of funny, and we amuse each other a lot on our radio show.
You guys are going to be funny the whole morning, aren't you? You ain't going to let up, are you?
Buddy, we're always on. We're always on.
You guys, man, you guys are killing me over here. You guys are the greatest.
Thank you. We do a bit every day on our show called I Bet We Can Write a Song About That, where we pick some local topic, be it the Arizona Cardinals or the governor or just something funny that happened in the news, and we write a funny little parody song about it every day.
They've got no offense, and Larry Fitz might just be better on another team. Oh no, Cardinals can't even beat the Jets.
Willie is very musical. I can think of songs, parody songs, musical bits, but I can't sing them or perform them nearly as well as Willie can.
1, 2, 3. Here we are on the other side of your radio.
You are with people in their car, they just woke up, they probably are late for work, they're in a crappy mood.
Yeah, we're barely awake, but we're playing your songs on the radio.
So if you can put a smile on their face at that time, you've done this tremendous thing.
Now we imagine you on the other side of your radio, eating your breakfast or driving real fast up Pius to a freeway.
It's PS to up.
Whatever.
It's sort of a very intimate and personal relationship that a good DJ or good personality has with an audience member.
Somehow, baby, there's a million people all singing along.
We would always try to be something that people would talk about at the water cooler at work. Hey, did you hear what Tim and Willie said today?
Tim and Willie, can you say hi to my wife?
And now, of course, water coolers have gone away because people drink bottled water.
Playing these songs on the other side of your radio.
Hola.
Hola yourself.
Is this Dave?
Yeah. You guys never quit, do you?
Never.
No, most of the time we get fired.
That's true.
We were with KNIX for 10 years. That was Clear Channel. And it came time to renew a contract. We sort of felt like the company just was kind of going down the wrong path, and we didn't want to continue there. We went back to the radio on Camel, on CBS Radio Phoenix, and that's really when things got crazy. Their reaction to more competition from other music sources was to play more music, which the only thing we could do differently is be Tim and Willie. It was depressing because they were making decisions that didn't make sense and didn't seem like it was going to have a future. I can't play a Taylor Swift record any better than anybody else. A Taylor Swift record is a Taylor Swift record, no matter where you hear it. We weren't doing things the way we had done them when we started, when we had a real love for the business. Well, then I went on to unemployment, and I lived in an alley in downtown Phoenix for a little while, and no, it wasn't that bad. It was weird. We were given the speech about being fired, and it was hard not to smile as we walked out the building. You almost feel like you know the radio star because you get to hear more of them. They get to share more of their life.
I'm John Holmberg from 98 KUPD, and I do the morning show, Holmberg's Morning Sickness. It's 8:59. We got Rock Wars coming up in just a little bit. It's 98 KUPD.
You don't have to haggle with anybody. You have to deal.
Hi, it's John, Jay, and Rich. It sounds like you got some pretty hard evidence, so we're going to try and call your boyfriend and find out where he will send a dozen red roses. It's War of the Roses.
People are interesting in different ways, and whether I agree or disagree, if you're interesting, you're interesting.
I'm excited though, because I like watching teams that shouldn't do anything go out there and try. We'll see if they're any good if chemistry works. Tonight, Suns and Golden State, and you can go there for Halloween, get all dressed up.
He in himself is quasi-genius. He thinks he's smarter than I think he is, but he's okay.
Nobody can do what I do.
The only really bad part is when the alarm goes off at 2:50. But even then, you're up, you're ready, and you realize that you get to do something that not a lot of people get to do. It's a privilege to be on the radio.
So it's got to be you that it's attracted to, not the house necessarily.
So they're going backwards in Minnesota. It could be solid then. To watch that team. You're trying to tank the season, and Minnesota goes out and put an all-white team out. Good luck. They're going to be 0-82, and you're going to still end up with a second pick.
Holmberg's been with me now 11 and a half years.
And I've worked for other places that'll just throw the leash on, keep you tight, and they can tell you how you're funny. They can tell you how you're entertaining. And nobody can tell anybody that.
The nitwit he worked for before let him go at another station here in town, recognizing he had no talent. Well, the reason he had no talent is because they never let him out of the bondage that they had him wrapped in.
This week, who goes first, Brady Bogan?
The best part of our job is being on the radio and doing a radio show from 5 to 10. That's the best part of the job. The worst part of our job is when we get off the radio and we got to talk to all the management and everybody after the radio show. That's the worst part.
Taking someone who's got a little bit of a creative side that, for the most part, all of my life was stymied. Everybody always said, "Shut up, you're being an idiot." You know, all these things. High school is like, don't make. And then you get somebody who embraces that, and it's who you are, and you're like, cool, I can kind of run.
I think creativity is what makes radio unique, and I think that we will see a rebirth, a resurgence of the John Holmberg type personality.
Thank you. Bye.
The truth is, some of the best radio personalities aren't known for their voices.
As soon as I spoke, the guy recognized me from my voice, and he said, "I wouldn't know what you look like, but I recognize your voice." And I always thought that's kind of funny. Every now and then that happens where somebody hears my voice. I don't think my voice is any distinguishable, really, but when it happens, it's always sort of amusing to me.
I swear to God, every time I listen to our show, I can't believe that I'm on the radio because I don't sound good. True story. Hashtag true story.
A good radio personality has a sense for what he or she should talk about.
We use our names on the radio. We pretty much talk about our lives. Some people overshare.
I think we literally entertain each other, and we do the same thing at lunch that we do in this room.
We hope that there's some relatability in that, and what makes it popular is people see a little bit of their opinions, a little bit of their thoughts, a little bit of their whacked out families in our families too.
People want a connection to their local radio station.
I spent some time in television and I was absolutely bored to death. I thought it was the dumbest job I've ever had in my life. I like the personality and the development and the ability to create ideas.
Some college professor told me this: there are no boring stories, only boring storytellers. Don't tell boring stories.
Because I am such an emotional guy, right? Like I cry at a good McDonald's commercial or a good rendition of the national anthem.
You know, what we do is a comedy show that relates to people. And so when the mics are on and things are free flowing, it's the party. After the party, you deal with people who don't necessarily get comedy, which is why they're not on the radio.
So if this guy knows so much on how to do what I'm doing, let him do it. Why isn't he doing it? He can't do it because he can't do it. He thinks his way's right, but it doesn't work. Yeah. And every time he'd hit the ball, Brady would go, oh, oh, Damien knows, oh, oh. And I'm like, if you ever told a joke and then walked away and said, I could have done it better, I could have done that better. Sure, everybody has. It was not as funny as it was when I heard it the first time because I told it poorly, but you can't retell it. They'll always have somebody telling the talent, here's how you should be doing it, because it's hindsight.
I think the really bright people of the world are going to the casket. I'm only kidding.
So when you've got management that's on your side and they like you and they like what you're doing and it's delivering, you can't hate this job. That's the reason. That's it.
There's more to radio than we've ever had to think about before.
Our world in ratings was rocked a few years ago by PPM.
It's a little pager and people carry it with them and it just picks up whatever they're listening to.
Arbitron, the company that handles all the ratings, polls that device and aggregates all that information on a daily, weekly, and a monthly basis. That's how the ratings are determined.
I think the way that the Arbitron rating system is telling people it works and the way it's actually working are two wildly different things.
It really rewards stations that play a lot of music.
Funny thing is Arbitron tells people, okay, everybody wants more music. And in the same breath they'll say, but they don't get their music from radio. So what do you do?
There's definitely a theme in radio where with the new rating system, we're still figuring out what people want.
Shows that are popular do not show up well in the ratings when they have a lot of talk. John Jay and Rich, John Holmberg on KUPD.
I honestly think the business side of it is that the larger groups don't want to pay radio talent, and it's an easy way to say, well, why do I have to pay you if music is the way to go?
The numbers are not accurate in our opinion because the sample size for a market the size of Phoenix is very, very low.
It depends on who gets one of those meters. That's all that is.
To say that we were in 20th place in the ratings was only one instance of measurement. You got to do something other than just read the PPM ratings and then sell the results that way. People can kind of get their music anywhere, and that's sort of what's brought us to this point in our career history.
I think the biggest change is just the change in technology. It's impacting them now, but not as much as it will.
Things like Pandora came along, and iTunes and satellite radio offered the exact same music and less commercials and really no personality. So if you really just wanted the music, you could get the music in any of those options.
We've chosen to ignore all that and just ride this out as long as we can.
There's ways to deal with problems. One of them is ignoring it, but it doesn't mean that it's not a problem, right? It doesn't mean that you're dealing with it. Technology to us is something that we embrace.
It's impossible. There's so much out there. You literally kind of, it's funny, but you almost, when you're in this, have to hyper-focus on it. You get so lost on what you're not doing that what you are doing becomes something else. I do radio. That's my job.
It's been a world of learning things, and I just assume that's the way it's going to be.
Hey, are we close to being ready to go?
We've had to teach Willie how to use Facebook. We've had to teach all of us how to use Twitter.
Your listeners are using Facebook and Twitter, so why wouldn't you?
All right, you can help out 260-9800. You can go to the emails, holmberg@98kupd.com. You can text away some suggestions, 97936. And this week's battle for musical supremacy comes up next. We don't really do the typical, hey, go to our Facebook, beg you to like us on Facebook. We don't care. If you like it, we want you to, and we're not trying to amp up our numbers on that. All right, now's the time when we just stare at screens for a little bit. We utilize it as kind of a little nudge rather than a push.
Spin forward to the last few years in the business, and it seems like they put more of a priority of posting things on the internet, posting on Facebook, tweeting, And really the on-air show almost became irrelevant at that point.
Now I think we're jumping too far ahead, saying it's going to happen to us, so let's destroy what we're doing and move forward into something before it's happened. Radio's trying to stop itself so it can get on board something they fear. It's just cutting off your nose, and there's a danger to it.
In this day and age, you have to be an outstanding, outrageous personality to cut through all the clutter.
You want information now. You don't want to wait till tomorrow.
You know, faxes were a big thing when we first came on Camel, whatever, 15, 20 years ago. Who uses a fax machine now? Why is that? It takes too long. We can't wait 45 seconds for something.
We have to give out information right away. The days are past where you say, hey, tomorrow morning, it's just big story breaking, we'll tell you tomorrow at 7, because now people go, the new Lady Gaga song, we'll have it tomorrow at 7. It's already on the internet.
We already assume you know, which used to be the cardinal sin of this business, is never assume they know. Now it's the opposite. Everybody knows. You deliver it and give them the information, but you don't do it like you're telling them for the first time. You're just kind of recapping, people get it.
Technology was changing through the years, but it would take, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Now we're seeing technology go to the point where things change on a annual basis, or every 6 months the technology is changing.
Today, for any single radio station, you could put an entire music playlist on an iPhone. An entire music playlist can be in your pocket.
Anybody with a phone, a smartphone, can post a show. They can record a show and pipe it up somewhere. The great news is the whole world is now our market. And the bad news is the whole world is now our competition.
Podcasts being everywhere are going to change the way things work.
If you change that dial, you'll have to live with that decision for the rest of your life.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it right here.
Since we've been off the air, we found something on Google Plus called Google Hangouts.
If you're not watching, Willie is coming from his Mesa voting booth. He's got a big American flag behind him right there.
You can do your show virtually round the clock, and it's available everywhere in the world.
The localism that radio stations has offered has gone away in many stations and in many markets. So that's been a big change.
Monday morning at 7:50 on channel 95.1. Monday morning at 7:50 on My 99.9. Monday morning at 6:50 on Z100.
Radio has always been great at being very local and very connected. So a station in Phoenix will sound different than a station in Boston. Even if they're both playing country music, they're tied into and they're part of the psyche and the vibe of that city.
Hey everybody, it's Tim and Willie and Andrea. We are coming to you directly from a taste of Cave Creek.
What's happening with a lot of the corporate-owned radio stations is they're developing networks, if you will, that will broadcast in Phoenix and Tucson and Los Angeles, Miami, and Chicago.
With a big company kind of running everything the same way, you lose a lot of that.
Ready?
For Phoenix.
You say you love War of the Roses on Mondays, so we'll bring the drama, more of the Roses Monday.
I am of the believer that we have to embrace technology, but we have to find our niche as local terrestrial broadcasters. And to me, that's the key, being a local broadcaster.
You can throw on a show from New York and get entertained. You can throw on a show from LA and get entertained. But when they start talking about driving down the 405 and saying, oh, I got stuck on Sepulveda in the 405, you lose the locality here. Tonight, Margarita Rocks, get there at 9 o'clock and win up to $2,000. But when you tune into us and we're like, I was at Wally's American Pub the other day, and like, I go there. They're there. They can touch what you're talking about. So I think the locality of it and relatability is what keeps radio alive.
Crank up the volume and sing at the top of your lungs with a radio.
Radio that is going to thrive and be into the future, the ones that exist 5 and 10 years from now, will do the same thing they've always done. They connect with people. But that part's not different. Just how you get it is different.
I think that the key to success is have somebody at the helm who understands that it's a changing world and they got to stay on top of it.
Change is good. When you look at the way radio was back in the day and the way radio is now, radio's still surviving. You have to change to be relevant. You can't live in the past.
We've been looking for the day that we could kind of become our own independent radio company, create our content and distribute it through various channels that are now becoming more and more popular. So we've looked forward to it. We've been waiting for kind of the future to get here.
Where do you think it's going?
You want to know where radio's going? I know where radio's going. It's going with you, wherever you go, with you. My exit.
You know, those exit lines, I don't think are quite as
I
powerful.
want to go with you? That's not a good exit line?
I am optimistic because I think it is a time where the new frontier is really wide open. And so there's going to be opportunities to create content and make money that we haven't even thought of yet. But what I love doing is the radio show, and I'm not sure I know how to do anything else, so might as well stay optimistic about that.
Thank you for being here tonight. We're glad to have you.
Radio's never going to go away.
If you can avoid authority, do it. Question everything. Never listen to a guy in a suit. Ever. They're always wrong.
But it takes free thinking. It takes people who are willing to use this other than a hat rack.
If you're meant to do this and you really want to do it, ignore all the people who tell you you can't, and learn what you can about how it's done, but think mostly about what it is you want to say.
If we're not doing it here, we'll do it somewhere else, and we'll do it until we can't.
Now radio is going to change, and people are going to have to reinvent themselves, but I always think there's going to be a place for great radio stations.
There are and there will always be jobs of people who want to hear what interesting people have to say.
'Cause it's you and me singing the same song right now. Maybe this will bring us together somehow. Maybe there's a million people all singing along. Somebody calls us up on the 260 line. Tim and Willie, can you say hi